A cry for help. Some SNAP users are seeing money in their accounts, while others say they don't have anything. They're now asking state and federal officials to ensure they get their benefits as soon as possible.
And shrinking shorelines. Coastlines at the Outer Banks are disappearing fast. Homes are collapsing and beaches are eroding more than they ever have. WRAL's Liz McLaughlin breaks down the reason and what's being done to stop it.
We're in for a little bit of everything this weekend. Wind will see showers and the Arctic blast bringing the coldest temperatures of this season so far.
Well, get ready for a little bit of a roller coaster ride here in the weather world over the next couple of days. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday night here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty. So it's going to feel great tomorrow. We got temps in the 50s, lows in the 50s actually. It's going to get pretty nice through the day, but look what happens next. Chance of rain on Sunday, and then our first freeze of the season on Monday. Kat joins us now. Kat, we got some Arctic air on the way.
And boy, is it going to be a shock to the system when it gets here. We're forecasting 78 for the high on Sunday in Raleigh, 79 in Fayetteville, 76 in Durham, 79 in Goldsboro. But look at the drop coming by Tuesday morning when you wake up. So this is Monday night into Tuesday morning when we'll have our first freeze of the season for many of us. 28 in Durham, 25 in Roxborough, 27 Southern Pines, and 30 in Raleigh. Areas in the upper 20s could see their first hard freeze of the season. So it's all due to a series of cold fronts that'll work their way through our area over the course of the weekend. And the first one is this one right here that moves in tonight, and it will bring a chance for rain with it, but not until after midnight. So I'm starting Futurecast at midnight tonight. By 2 a.m., we could see some rain closing in on our northwestern counties, perhaps in Wake County by 3 a.m. And this is really going to roll through while most of us are sleeping. But if you are an early riser at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., you could see some showers sticking around. Even by 7 a.m., a little bit of rain. It's gone by 8, but I'll let you know when it could return this weekend coming up.
All right, Kat, thanks very much. Brian Schrader here in the WRAL Live Center. I want to get you up to date with the latest on flight disruptions across the country. Those FAA-mandated flight cuts started today at the nation's busiest airports, and we learned from the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, today that if the government shutdown isn't resolved in the coming days, he says that as many as 20% of flights may have to be cut from some of the busiest airports. Here's a look at the latest in numbers of flight cancellations from FlightAware. Today, more than 1,000 flights canceled in the U.S. Tomorrow, already more than 700 flights. And on Sunday, we're now approaching 700 flight cancellations that have been announced. Southwest tonight says that it's already cutting 100 flights for tomorrow and 150 for Sunday. And even the Postal Service says that we could see slight impacts to mail delivery because they do count on a lot of commercial and cargo aircraft to deliver the mail all across the country.
My goodness. All right, Brian, thank you. Let's do another part of the government shutdown and talk about SNAP. So it does sound like SNAP might be fully funded as soon as this weekend. The USDA putting out the memo this afternoon. It says we are working toward implementing November 2025 full benefit insurances. We will complete the process necessary to make funds available. So not long after that, North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services made this announcement saying, quote, partial SNAP payments loaded onto those EBT cards, full benefits could be added as soon as this weekend. So some progress there for folks, and those full benefits can't come soon enough because in some cases these partial ones are hardly enough for a dozen eggs. WRAL's Kirsten Clark joining us live in Raleigh. Kirsten, you met someone who got less than half of what they normally get on their card today. What did they tell you?
Dan, I actually spoke with multiple people today who rely on SNAP. They told me they are having to depend on food from distribution centers like this one because they simply do not have the money to provide for themselves or their families. Take a look at this video showing Michelle Cox and her son. They told me they have been struggling to find food since the end of last month. Michelle told me she has not received any money on her EBT card, and her son says he woke up to $32 this morning on his card. He says he normally gets $132 each month. Now, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services says approximately 190,000 households in North Carolina received $16 or less on their EBT cards today, with thousands of people getting nothing.
My daughter is a type of person, she's disabled, special needs child. So it's very hard to explain to her what baby We can't eat this. We got to decide, oh, we're going to eat this a little bit this night, then we eat this a little bit that night to be able to save food. So it's kind of very hard to explain to her what no means. You can't have this right now. We got to save this for later. So yes, we're going through it.
Yeah, you can just hear there how hard it's been for people like Michelle. The Department of Health and Human Services says it will work as quickly as possible to get people their full SNAP benefits for November. Those I spoke with say they won't believe it until they see it. Live in Raleigh, Kirsten Clark, WRAL News.
All right, Kirsten, thank you. So in case you haven't been really dialed into every little update on SNAP funding over the past couple of weeks, here is a quick little recap for you. So the federal government shut down. You definitely know that one already. Then Congress had until November 1st to make a deal, or food stamp funding would then lapse. And that day came and it went, and there was no deal. Now, at first, the USDA said it would not use any emergency money to fund food stamps. They weren't going to do it. But a federal judge then said, no, you really need to use that money, guys. You have to. And the USDA responded saying, fine, we'll use the money, but only partially fund food stamps, not all the way. The judge then came back and said, no, you got to fund it all the way. Well, this morning, the Trump administration then appealed that judge's orders. And tonight, the court denied that appeal. And Trump appealed again now to the Supreme Court. But for now, SNAP will be funded in full. And that sounds good, but the math does not. Last year, the USDA reported SNAP cost the government about $8 billion per month. And last month, we learned the USDA has about $4.5 billion in emergency funds. So it sounds like the USDA is $3.5 billion short. The thing is, SNAP funds don't hit every recipient's account on the first of every month. It's kind of a rolling system. Some people get it the second week of the month, other people get it the third, and so on and so forth. And that means that the USDA doesn't really need all $8 billion right now up front. But it also means that the people getting full benefits now are going to be in trouble next month. And the people scheduled to get full benefits in a few weeks might end up with nothing at all. That money might be gone. All that said, this all comes to an end if Congress makes a deal and reopens the government, and that clock is ticking. All right, if you're just getting to the news tonight, let's get you caught up on the 5 things you need to know right now. More than 1,200 flights nationwide were canceled today because of FAA reductions during the government shutdown. RDU wasn't directly targeted here, but at least 11 flights were canceled there today. Advisors suggest booking a separate flight on a different carrier if you can afford to do that. So they're asking you to buy multiple tickets right now and just have that insurance policy so you can get a refund. It's crazy. It's craziness out there. Right now, crime scene tape is up on Barbie Chapel Road in Durham. Sky 5 flying over that scene within minutes of learning about the investigation. First responder radio traffic on Broadcastify shows the call came in as a stabbing. We'll continue to update this story as we get more information there from the sheriff's office. 2 people face charges in a fraud scheme across multiple North Carolina counties. Victoria Tudor and Ethan Smith are accused of using stolen checks and personal information to steal thousands of dollars. Arrest warrants show that this took place in Wake, Harnett, Cumberland, and more counties. Charges include identity theft and money laundering. Nash County Schools now has a clear bag policy in place for after-school events. These are those types of bags that will be allowed. These are the types of bags that you can see here will be allowed at sporting events. Diaper and medical bags will also be allowed. A new vision for Durham's Northgate Mall. After years of back and forth, the developer has submitted a site plan that includes demolishing the existing mall. That plan is to build 6 commercial buildings with retail and restaurants. City staff are now reviewing that plan. We've been here before, haven't we? So they paid for perfect smiles and were left with frowns when a Raleigh orthodontic office suddenly closed, keeping the money and leaving kids with a mouthful of hardware. And to make matters worse, those patients are now learning the Smiling Face Company wasn't even licensed. WRL's Destiny Patterson is looking for answers.
On Google, the Smiling Face Company is listed as permanently closed. This is day 2 of me trying to track down the owners of the business that used to be here in this business center. I visited multiple addresses listed for Ebony McBean Grady and Brandon Grady. According to state business filings, they ran the Smiling Face Company. A dental office that once had 5-star Google reviews is now the source of frustration for patients.
She stopped answering the phone. She stopped answering text messages, tried to email, everything was unanswered.
Brandon Grady commented on Facebook in response to a frustrated patient. He wrote, quote, "The narratives that my wife operates without integrity or presumed to be a doctor could not be more from the truth. There's a lot that I want to say to set the record straight." I sent messages to the Gradys on Facebook asking, why did the business close? Should patients expect refunds? And why did you service patients without the proper credentials? While it appears someone saw my messages, I didn't receive a response from Ebony or Brandon.
My son has a broken bracket in his mouth. His mouth has been hurting for months.
Giz spent $4,000 on her son's treatment at the Smiling Face Company.
All this was money that I really didn't have to just give away without getting what I paid for.
I couldn't find a dental license for either owner in the state's database.
If I would have knew that she was an assistant and was not licensed, she would have never put her hands in my son's mouth. Never.
Dr. Darren Ramsey is listed as dental medical director on some documents.
I never met this man.
Giz feels like she's been misled.
While she's on Facebook quoting scriptures, she should be trying to contact people and give them their money back.
You can search a dental professional's license and its standing through the state licensing board's website. On WRAL.com, I also break down how you can file a complaint through the licensing board. I'm Destiny Patterson, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Thank you, Destiny. Help is on the way for the Outer Banks communities where those homes just keep falling into the ocean. They will spend millions of dollars to stem the tide of erosion. Look at how much that beach has eroded in just the last 2 years. We're going to explain how the county plans to fight back just ahead. Plus, UNC takes on Kansas tonight, and we are digging deep into the WRAL archives for the team's first matchup in 1957. Kat?
This weekend, when you are outside, you will be impressed. The weather, stunning, but get ready for a big change on the way. I'll let you know the hours when temperatures just really fall off a cliff with this next front coming up.
Here's some of those videos of those homes just crashing down into the waves there in the Outer Banks. It's all over the news, all over social media, and it makes sense as to why so many people are enamored by this, because it's crazy. It's crazy to watch an entire house collapse into the waves, and this has happened 16 times so far this year, and it's all because of erosion and money. So this is what erosion looks like. Look at these images of how the beach in Buxton has changed in just 2 years. That's it. The first picture, October 2023, and the second, as it scans down there, was from last month. Look at how the water has moved inland in such a short amount of time. Look at all of these examples. You see the pools as they got wiped away there? There was a good distance between them and the ocean in 2023. 2 years later, the waves are crashing just feet away. The shoreline on the Outer Banks is disappearing even faster. But there's a way to fight it. Problem is, that fight costs a lot of money, lots of it. WRAL's Liz McLaughlin has that story.
The stand is disappearing faster than the community can react. New 3D maps from our coast show Buxton's beach lost the equivalent of 800 dump trucks of sand in just 5 weeks.
Right now, we're in an incredibly erosive state. And so that means we're losing elevation. So we're losing the vertical elevation of the beach. And we're also moving inward.
The repeated hits from tropical systems have dropped the shoreline nearly 9 feet in elevation, causing 15 homes to crash into the ocean in just over a month.
This is the highest erosion rate that we have seen. Just in the next 10 years and 15 years, these East Coast communities that no longer have sediment because it's starved are going to be facing really difficult decisions.
County leaders say a $45 million beach nourishment project is planned for next spring, but that may be too late for structures teetering on the edge.
Well, in North Carolina, you're not allowed to do hardened structures, and so beach nourishment is the only tool that's available to mitigate shoreline erosion. And so we use that. We understand that it's going to wash away.
Scientists say it's a warning for coastal communities across the state as rising seas and development push the edge of North Carolina further inland. Liz McLaughlin, WRAL News.
Not So we have gone in depth on this several times on this topic, many, many times before, why the Outer Banks struggles to afford the money for these beach renourishment projects, why homeowners are often letting their homes in some cases fall into the ocean, and what lawmakers are doing to try and fix this problem. You can find all those stories on the WRAL YouTube page. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us now. We do have some really nice weather, but it's an up and down that leads to this down on Tuesday. That's cold.
Oh, it's going to be a lot colder. And we were just talking about having some family and friends in town. What a weekend for it. I mean, mid to upper 70s on the weekend, and then you get to Monday and it just gets cold. But at least we get the nice weather for the weekend. Tuesday morning is really the time period to watch. That's our first freeze of the season in the Triangle. It is a widespread freeze across our viewing area. And for some of us, it's going to be a hard freeze or a killing freeze. So a heads up, when you get consecutive hours of 28 degrees or lower, that brings that threat. And north of the Triangle, west of the Triangle, that will be a big concern. Monday morning, 41 degrees, just 49 the high Monday afternoon. Tuesday morning, it's 30, but the wind chill is probably going to be in the 20s when you wake up, and we still don't hit 50 during the day Tuesday. Wednesday, we're finally back to a little bit closer to normal for November. 35 in the morning, 63 by Wednesday afternoon. I bet you're going to turn on your heat by next week. If you've been holding out and being strong so far this fall season, next week's probably the one that'll change. More warm days are coming, though. You still get to enjoy tomorrow. Partly cloudy. The rain's gone by 8 a.m. 76 in Raleigh, 78 in Fayetteville, 77 in Goldsboro. And then tomorrow night into Sunday, we will have the chance for some isolated showers, even thunderstorms to return. It's even warmer Sunday, 76 Durham, 78 Raleigh, 79 degrees in Fayetteville, 77 in Southern Pines with some isolated storms. But for tonight, our next weather maker is moving in, and after midnight, some rain will be possible. An isolated rumble of thunder can't be ruled out as well with this front. But as the rain crosses the mountains and moves east, it is going to weaken some. So I do want to give you that heads up. But there's also the potential Sunday with it being 78 degrees and so warm, that's going to energize the atmosphere. And that means there's some energy for thunderstorms to develop. However, I think that we're going to be trimmed out of this severe weather risk on Sunday. I really think it's going to be more confined to the coast. A lot of that's going to have to do with timing, so check in for an update on that tonight at 11 o'clock with WRAL meteorologist Mike Mays. Let's take a look at the rain chances Saturday and Sunday down here. Tomorrow morning, a chance for rain, dry during the day, and then another little chance for rain tomorrow night. Sunday, a small chance for rain in the morning, again, dry during the midday hours, and then there will be a chance for rain later in the afternoon and evening. The point here, there are a lot of dry hours this weekend to enjoy the beautiful and warm weather. Let's take a live look at Pittsburgh tonight. The fall color looking beautiful here. The new camera located at Doherty's Irish Pub there and restaurant. The 7-day forecast looks great this weekend for some time outside. Once we get to next week, it gets cold, and it gets cold fast. 78 to 49 degrees in just one day, and that's the high to the high, not even the low here. Once we get to the middle of next week, we're in between again with highs back in the 60s, Dan.
Thank you, Kat. It is the Battle of the Blue Bloods, and it goes back to a national championship matchup in the 1950s. But Carolina and Kansas have a lot more in common than just wins and losses. We are going back into the WRAL archives after the break. It is a battle of blue bloods tonight. UNC versus Kansas in men's basketball. These teams have a rich history. They faced off in the Final Four in 1991. The Jayhawks won that one. 2 years later, they played each other in the Final Four again, and the Tar Heels won that time. The teams came to blows in the 2022 national championship, and Kansas won that one. In fact, Kansas has beat Carolina in the last 5 matchups. The most recent one was last year in Kansas. But the history between these teams goes deeper than wins and losses. Dean Smith played at Kansas and coached at Carolina. Larry Brown played at Carolina and coached at Kansas. And Roy Williams coached at Kansas and Carolina. For two teams that have played each other just 13 times in 70 years, they sure have a lot in common. But tonight does mark a first for this rivalry. The Tar Heels and Jayhawks have never faced off in Chapel Hill before. Tonight is the first time. And the fans will dress the part. It's going to be a whiteout in the Dean Smith Center. UNC only does this every once in a while, so you know fans are going to bring it tonight. We went into the WRAL archive and dug up a story about the days when UNC wore white all the time. in 1957. That was the year the Tar Heels played the Jayhawks for the very first time, and the winners walked away with the national championship. Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news. Have a great weekend as we leave you with this, your Friday moment of nostalgia.
Some of you may remember that North Carolina was voted national basketball champions with a 26-0 record back in 1924. Well, in 1957, they won it in hand-to-hand combat against the Kansas Jayhawks and Wilt Chamberlain. Chamberlain had 23 points in the title game in Kansas City. North Carolina in white, number 10 Lenny Rosenbluth led the Tar Heels with 20 points in the title game. The other Carolina starters, Pete Brennan, Tommy Kearns, Bobby Cunningham, and Joe Quigg. Pete Brennan had been an All-American in 1956. Rosenbluth named the NCAA Player of the Year in 57 and was a star member of Coach Frank McGuire's Subway Underground from New York. The game tone was torrid, tied after regulation in a third overtime. Joe Quigg hit 2 free throws with 6 seconds to play, and North Carolina won it as they slapped the ball free and come up with it at the final second. Final score, 54-53 Carolina.
WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.